My name is Eduard Tilihoy, and I'm a pastor in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I was assigned in the Suceava County to pastor a near border with Ukraine church. From the first night when we heard that Russians just broke war with Ukraine, we were to the border.
Есть места, где надо ехать очень быстро, потому что там
Sunt locuri
стреляют.
unde trebuie de mers foarte repede, fiindcă se împușcă. Conferenții centrale și-a adus familia aici, în regiunea
Теперь добрые
Cernăuți.
друзья дали автобус, чтобы он этот
Și
автобус использовал
prietenii
для
buni
гуманитарного груза.
Au dăruit deja microbuzul care pleacă încărcat cu ajutorul venit de la Adra, România, spre conferința centrală Kiev.
Он делает вторую ходку на город Чернигов. Сложная дорога, опасная
Acum
дорога.
face al doilea drum spre orașul Cernigov, unde este un drum foarte periculos.
Jesus said, "Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks." God has promised to give us pastors to speak the words from His heart, to be His hands performing acts of love, day after day, week after week, message after message. Men and women are activated by God as His special agents of grace to demonstrate His love to the distressed soul, even in the most difficult, trying, and sometimes dangerous circumstances. These are the stories of their hope under siege. Modern dictionaries define a pastor as a person having spiritual care of a number of persons. The Old Testament translated the Hebrew word pastor as shepherd, one who feeds a flock, a companion, a special friend. Even before the start of the crisis in Ukraine, pastors were leading and spiritually feeding various congregations, consoling those mourning the loss of a loved one, binding hearts through marriage, and joining souls with Christ through baptism. There are many churches and pastors in Eastern Europe, of which several thousand are Seventh-day Adventists. A growing number of pastors are volunteering with ADRA, Adventist Development Relief Agency, an Adventist humanitarian aid organization prominently working at the borders of Ukraine. To the east of the Ukrainian border is Poland, where according to 2020 statistics, there are around 115 Adventist churches. On the southern border, Romania hosts over 1,000 churches, and in Ukraine itself, there were 790 Adventist congregations before the conflict. When one considers the number of churches, denominations, and pastors who lead them, there are a significant number of pastors bringing hope to those struggling to find it.
From the first night when we heard that Russians just broke war with Ukraine, we were to the border, to the Siret border, to see if we can help the people that are crossing there. Me and my colleagues could help those in need. We opened our churches. We called the district members to open their houses to receive refugees from Ukraine, and we gave shelter, food, transportation for all the people that cross the border and enter in contact with us.
Placing themselves in harm's way, pastors from all over are continuing to serve people in the midst of danger, shepherding the flock amidst the storm.
Эту машину нам одолжили люди, их сын погиб, и родители дали, чтобы мы
Transportul
пользовались.
respectiv nu este a fratelui pastor, dar el l-a dorit o familie care a murit deja în război.
Но машина очень старенькая.
Mașina este foarte veche.
Есть места, где надо ехать очень быстро, потому что там
Sunt locuri
стреляют.
unde trebuie de mers foarte repede, fiindcă se împușcă
И каждый раз люди рискуют, потому что я
și
не могу.
oamenii sunt nevoiți ca să stea culcați la podele ca să-i pot scoate de acolo din foc.
Тут всего 5 мест, надо хотя бы,
deja
чтобы было 9-10
De-abia
мест.
sunt 5 locuri, dar acolo sunt peste 50 de oameni care vor să iasă din foc și m-am transport cu ce să-i scot.
Надеемся, что скоро откроют город Чернигов, и надо будет везти очень много
Sper că
людей.
deja degrabă se va deschide orașul Cernigov și voi putea ca să aduc și de acolo oameni încoace.
Чоловік мій служитель, а я прокинулась від того, що щось зірвалося. Я підскочила, почала звати свого чоловіка, він не спав на той момент, але він був в нижній кімнаті, він не так гарно почув. Коли він піднявся наверх, був другий вибух. Мій чоловік сказав, що я звідси не поїду, бо моє служіння цим людям, які знаходяться в Чернігові.
Ми виїхали на другий день після початку війни. Люди залишилися і без роботи, і без житла, і без нічого, і майже без грошей. Тобто тікали, вже що було, те й забрали. У деяких все життя вклалося в один маленький рюкзачок, і це все, що змогли забрати з собою, але аж до сліз пробирає вся ця ситуація. А я ж кажу, але є надія.
Most of them were women and children, so they were scared, frightened by the war they were fleeing of. So many times I had to take out my credentials, my pastor credential, to show them, look, I am a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. And after a few days, when they saw how they were treated, they just were very thankful. They called abroad, they called in Ukraine, they called their relatives from Europe and told them about Seventh-day Adventist Church. They told about ADRA, that is giving a great relief to those in need.
While some pastors remained at their churches to accept those seeking shelter, many others took on the added duty of serving at the borders, providing food, water, and other essentials as refugees crossed over to safety. As the hungry, travel-worn refugees arrived, local pastors and volunteer conference workers were quick to welcome them into churches and makeshift refugee camps.
Since day one, we gave shelter to the refugees. We stationed to the border, and we have there another tent with food, supplies, with everything the refugees need when they cross the border. After that, we give transportation to specific location where are shelters for the refugees. We have 6 shelters in Suceava County. Many of them are churches.
Я Марина. В церкву ми приїхали на другий день війни. Пробули там 17 днів.
Завдяки церкві, завдяки волонтерській якійсь підтримці ми маємо змогу проживати, ми маємо змогу цими гуманітарними допомогами харчуватися.
Взриви десь біля нас, в машину і втікати звідти. Навіть не знаю, що в церкву їм, просто сідали в машину, аби їхати. Доволі гарною, спокійною, духовна була підтримка.
In this situation, we could see that the people are in hunger of information. They are lost. They do not know what is going to happen in the future. So our opportunity is to talk with them about God, about Christ's love for humanity, about the prophecies that we can see that they are unfolding. And many of them just ask questions. Many of my colleagues had many nice experiences with the refugees when they ask questions, and we had to give them answers. I had one occasion when some refugees that were hosted in our area asked me about the state of the dead, what's happening with the people when they will die. So I had to open the Bible and tell them about our belief. So we had to tell them about Jesus that can give them relief and can give them peace to their heart. I could talk to Ukrainians that were saying that they are hating the Russians. So I had again to connect them with God and His love for humanity.
Because God so loved the world, He gave His only Son, who walked this earth and showed us what heavenly love looks like. Jesus promised that in His absence, He would send a helper, the Holy Spirit, to be our conscience and guide. During this crisis, we can't help but see the Spirit of God manifesting in loving and fearless leadership. Just as the promise of His Spirit has been fulfilled, so too has the promise of shepherds, leading the scattered sheep as pastors, according to his own heart.
Наших друзей, наших
Dumnezeu să
братьев, наших
binecuvinteze
сестер.
din belșug pe frații care sunt mâna largă ca să ne ajute.
А за Божью защиту и покрывало, которое Он дает нам,
Dar
мы очень
pentru
благодарны.
paza lui Dumnezeu și ocrotirea lui, noi suntem întotdeauna recunoscători.
Слава
lui.
нашему Господу!
Slava Domnului nostru!
If you would like to learn ways to get involved, please visit hopetv.org/hopeinaction. Thank you.